Hello, Jason Fladlin here from dailyseminar.com, and today I'm going to share with you the red herring technique. This is a way to help increase your conversions for your main offer by making the price seem insignificant by a relative comparison. This is a really cool technique. It's an advanced persuasion strategy, but if you can figure out a way to harness this and use this, you will see your conversions go through the roof. So this is what it's all about. The premise for the red herring technique is that people can only make relative comparisons. And let me give you some examples. So a very simple one to start off with. When I was writing copy, I was showing how you could do something in 2 minutes. So I can say 2 minutes, or I could say in the time of a commercial break. Most people have the relative experience of saying, oh, a commercial break, wow, that ain't that long. And in fact, in their mind, I've implanted the idea of I could watch TV and during a commercial break, I could do this and get results with it. So what's more better to get them to understand the benefits of the product in that case? Would it be just saying you can do this in 2 minutes, or you can do this in the time of a commercial break? Here I've given them a relative comparison of what 2 minutes actually is. The relative comparison is in the time of a commercial break. So people think in relative comparisons. If you say 2 minutes in their mind, what's going to pop up? Is it a clock with 2 minutes? Can you actually signify 2 minutes with a picture? Not very easy, but everybody can come up with a picture of them sitting in front of a TV waiting through a commercial break, bored out of their mind. So another example is if I say there was a forest fire in California that spanned 200 acres. Are you going to be able to really quantify that in your mind and understand the parameters of how big that area is? Well, an acre is almost equivalent to a football field. So if I say to you 200 football fields, the area of 200 football fields, if you laid them end to end, this is how big this forest fire would be. Then you'd say, whoa, that's huge. 200 acres isn't something you can very easily create in your mind, but when I give you the relative comparison of area compared to something you're familiar with, like a football field, then it becomes very easy for you to understand the significance. And that's what you want when you want to have communication that persuades people, is you want them to understand the significance of your points as dramatically as possible and also help them understand the benefits and the comparisons of what you're giving them compared to what they're going to get anywhere else to make you look as favorably as possible. So for example, here's something that they studied in psychology when I was a psychology student, is they had asked people, what's a better deal? Let's say you wanted to buy a $12 item, like a pizza or something like that, and you had a $10 off coupon if you drove across town. So you would actually only end up paying $2 for the pizza. You would save $10. So they'd ask people, what's a better deal, doing something like that? Or let's say you wanted to buy a big screen TV for $1,000, and you could go get it. You could order it online for the same price or whatever, or you could drive across town and get $10 off. And actually, the technical way they did this is you could drive down the street, or you could drive across town and get $10 off, and the gas would only cost you like $2. So you would come up with a net savings of $8 if you drove all the way over across town. And the fact of the matter is time wasn't a consideration here. It was just a matter of what's the best deal. So a lot of people said they would drive across town to get $10 off a $12 item, but that they would not drive across town to get $10 off a $1,000 item, like a big screen TV that they were going to purchase anyway. And it begs the question, why are people doing this? Because technically, they're saving the same amount of money. $10 is $10. And so if they're willing to drive across town to get $10 off one item but not another, it's only because of a faulty understanding in their mind of the deal they're getting. So people think that they're getting such a great deal because the relative comparison here is they're getting 98% off practically, or they're getting over 90% off. So $10 off a $12 item is like, oh, I'm saving 90%. Whoa, that's a huge relative comparison of savings. Where $10 off a $1,000 item is like, what is that, like a 10% savings or even a 1% savings? I think it's a 1% savings. It's not big. So in their case, it's like, I'm only getting a 1% savings. That sucks. When technically they're saving the same amount of money, $10. But it's because of the relative comparison that they will go and do the latter but not the former. They will drive across town to get that $10 savings off the $12 item, but they will not drive across town to get the $10 savings off the $1,000 item just because of the glitch in their mind of relative comparison. So you have to use that to your advantage when you're selling stuff to make it look like they're getting 98% off instead of 1% off, even though technically they're getting the same actual value. The perception of value is different. So one more really good way for you to understand really what the importance of this, so you can use the red herring technique, which I'll get into in a second, is in the Olympics. They polled silver medalists and they asked them how happy they were with their performance. And what they found were silver medalists were more unhappy than bronze. This should say bronze So silver medalists were more unhappy than bronze medalists. Um, Even though a silver medal is better than a bronze medal, technically speaking, what happened was the relative comparison. In this case, silver medalists were comparing themselves to gold. So they were thinking, man, I didn't get gold. I came up short of gold. So in their case, there was pain. Where bronze medalists were comparing themselves to everybody else who didn't place. And this is the average at least. They were saying, wow, I was the last person to get a medal. Everybody else didn't get a medal. So in this case, they're thinking gain. Silver medalists are thinking loss. Bronze medalists are thinking gain. Even though a silver medal is technically better than a bronze, more bronze medalists were happy. So the idea is if you don't get gold in the Olympics, you should get bronze because you're probably going to be happier, statistically speaking. And why? Again, it's because people can only make relative comparisons. In general, people can only make relative comparisons. So it's your job as a marketer to make your price and make your offer a relative comparison to something that has a lot more value, so that way yours looks like a super damn good deal for the price. So let me get into this a little bit more. Make price relative by comparison. Why? You make your prospects compare it in a fixed environment instead of on their own. If you leave them to do it on their own, they can't make the comparison as adequately as you can if you show them. And if you can control the environment, you can control the outcome. So that's why. And also, this can make whatever price you present seem so much more insignificant if they had the proper relative comparison. Bottom line is you're going to get more sales. You're going to get higher conversions, and you're going to get them at higher prices. So you're going to extend everything. You're going to extend the transaction value, and you're going to extend the amount of customers that are going to come into your funnel. Make price relative. So I'm going to get into now 3 ways that you can do this technique. And some of these I've used personally, and some of these I've observed and reconstructed and I'm going to use in my business, and that I've seen others use very successfully. And I don't think a lot of people understand why these were so successful until they know this. So here's how I first stumbled on this technique, the red herring technique. I use what I call the power of 3 close. So I was a ghostwriter, and it worked like this. People would ask me, "Hey Jason, how much do you charge for an ebook or whatever?" And instead of just giving them a yes or no, like I charge this much, is that good? I changed it to an either proposition or one of 3 proposition. And this is how this works. What you want to do is you want to create a good, better, best option. And really all you care about getting is the better option. Maybe you're lucky once in a while you get the best option, and very occasionally you get the good option, but you engineer the way so the good option actually makes you a lot of money. So in any case, if they pick any of these 3, you're going to get more than you typically get. And you can get more than you typically get, not because you deliver more value, but it's just because you make the relative comparison of your value more easily understandable to your prospect. And the better you can do that, the more you can charge. Okay, so this is how you do this. First, you start with your good option. This is your barest option. Make this good option the price you would normally get. So let's say I'm writing an ebook and I normally charge $10 a page. So this is going to be my good option, my entry-level option, $10 a page for an ebook. Make the better option a price you don't think. Actually, this just should be these 2 should be switched around. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so make the better option a price you'd be absolutely happy to get. So this is something that you would get. Normally you get the good price, but make your better middle thing something that you would just love to get because it's more than you normally get, but it's something that you think you could charge and get away with. Okay, and then finally make the best option a price you don't think anybody will pay. And this is why this is called the red herring technique. This is a dummy option that you don't think anybody in their right mind would pay, but it's going to make your better option look really good. Okay, so this is how you do this. You present the best option as a few clients who are fortunate enough to be able to do whatever it takes to get it done and get the results. Typically choose this option. So in this case, then the only difference really is the best and better option is a simple premium such as a quicker turnaround time, personal coaching, or personal service. So this is how I would use this in ghostwriting. I would say a few lucky clients are fortunate enough to be able to invest the adequate resources to get the most out of my value for ebooks. So for them, what I do is I charge $35 a page. And what happens is I get it to them within the next 2 days, so I put them on the top priority list. So they're the first person I work on in the morning. And the second thing is I allow them to email me 4 times a week for feedback and for personal guidance that I also am going to give to them after I create the product. So you get 4 emails from me after the product's created so I can help you market it. So that's the premium option, $35 a page. That's extremely insanely high. Okay, now remember, I'm happy getting $10 a page, okay? So then you present the better option next as this. You say, Some clients don't need that much personalization, or they simply don't need to invest that many resources. They just need something that is going to get the job done and get it done well and on time. And for those that are interested in just getting good results quickly without all that extra personalization, for them, I typically charge $15 per page. And we get it done in the standard turnaround time, and so then I give them the turnaround time. So the turnaround time is slightly longer than this, and they get no personalization. And that's the only difference between $35 a page and $15 a page. And then finally, you present this last option. And for a few clients, I understand that budget is the primary issue, and they don't have a lot to work with. So for them, we give them the bare basics so that they can get at least some good results with our services. And then you offer your $10 version, and you make the turnaround time twice as long. And you say that it's typically, you throw in something that the pages aren't as big or something like that, so you have to do a little less work. And so the end result is $10 for the good option, $15 for the better option, $35 for the best option. Almost everybody picks the middle option. There's a couple of reasons why. First, it's just we've been programmed to pick between high, low, and medium. Most people pick medium. For example, when most people make pricing strategies in business, they look at what everybody else is charging, and they pick something that's average in the middle. People have that tendency to do what other people do. It's social proof. And so most people pick the average thing. They pick the better, because a lot of people don't want to admit, yeah, I'm broke, and I just need something, anything. And most people don't have the money or the inclination to go with the best option. So you make your better option look super good. And now you can charge more for the same service because it's $15 now instead of $10, just by the way you made the presentation of your offer. And I actually have an example of this where somebody asked me who was a ghostwriting client of mine. They said, Jason, this very specific thing they said to me. He goes, Jason, any suggestion on how to price this? So he sends me an email of a customer sent to him. He says, hi, do you do ebook writing? I have a pretty short ebook about finding untapped small and unique niches and dominating. I'm looking for someone to add more specific research content for micro niche marketing business selling info products on ClickBank. How much do you charge for adding content to ebooks? And so this is what I told Chris. I go, here's the close you want to use. Don't give them a yes-no proposition, but an either or. Here's what I'd say. Some clients I work with are lucky enough to have adequate resources to invest in a project like this to make it really top-notch and of the highest quality. So for them, I give them all my resources and return the finished product in, insert faster than normal turnaround time here. And this service is insert really high price that you doubt you'd ever get. That's the red herring price. Then that's the best deal. Okay. Then this is the better option. Others still are looking for something that does a really good job but doesn't have to be the best of the best. For them, we give them a really good finished product for only insert a higher price than you normally charge and would be really happy to get with average turnaround time. Then there are a few who face some tough budget concerns and are more interested in getting a really good bargain than anything else. For these clients, we deliver a respectable product for only, now put in the price you would regularly charge. So that way, no matter what, you get something that you're happy with. But then more likely than not, you're going to get more than what you get out of this. So product for only, now put in the price you'd regularly charge, and the turnaround time is usually a bit longer. Which category do you fall under? That's very important. So which category do you fall under? First of all, you've changed it from yes or no to whether they should take your service or not to, what category do I fall under? And then they simply pick the middle one in 90% of the cases, and then 3% of the cases they pick the lower one, and in 2% of the cases you actually get the higher one. So in any way you win. So this is the red herring technique, how I used it. Now here's another advanced technique that I'm going to start using, and in fact I've geared my whole business around using in the future. The premise though is you need a list to make this work. You need a community. It doesn't have to be your own list, it just has to be a list. And I'm going to show you an actual example of how this works. And this is where I got the first idea. Then I seen it later, and nobody made the connection, I don't think, except for me. But I'm like, oh, he just used that technique, okay? And he called it something fancy instead, like he's known to do. So I'll get into that. But you need a list to make this work. Here's what you do. First, you create a super high-end workshop, seminar, or whatever, way, way, way pricey. And your goal is really to only get 3 to 5 people attend. So let's say you have a list of like 5,000 buyers, or 3,000 buyers, or 3,000 people on your prospect list. It doesn't really matter. And let's say you're doing a writing workshop. This was advice I gave to a consulting client of mine. I said, how big do you want to really get with this? He goes, well, I would love to actually. I'm like, I know this market, how to write and get published. That was the niche. I said, I know people in this market that pay up to $10,000 to attend a workshop. So I'm like, would you be willing to put on those workshops in 6 months if we positioned you to be able to get the deal flow in? Do you have any qualms about actually getting on stage and teaching this stuff? He's like, no, let's do it. I go, so here's what you want to do. I said, right now he had a list of a certain size. I said, you're going to want to take this and make a super insanely high priced option that you don't think hardly anybody will pick. So out of 5,000 people, you only get 5 people in. So what's the conversion rate on 5 divided by 5,000? It's tiny. It's like 0.1%. So 1 out of 1,000 people. That's it. That's all you care about. So you only have to shoot 0.1%. Your goal is only to get 5 people to attend, and you could even position it to, we have to interview you first, you have to qualify to get in here. And what happens is everybody else is like, oh my god, it's so secretive, only so few people can attend, and it's super high pricey, he must be giving away the farm, there must be something super awesome in this workshop that he's only limiting it and charging so much for it. And actually your goal is not even to make money from the workshop, which you will. If you sell 5 people at 5,000, you can make $25,000. If you sell it at 10,000, you can make 50,000. But honestly, what you really want to do is invest in the marketing. So you'd want to pay people as guest speakers or pay something like that so you'd have your budget to work with. You don't care about the money you make. Any money you make from the workshop is just a bonus. What you really want is to make everyone on your list anxious to find out what the hell you could have revealed at such a pricey seminar, and to get them thinking that the value of that information is $5,000. Because if you sold it for $5,000, they have the relative comparison that it is $5,000. Then you record the seminar, and you make the recordings available to your list. So you basically got paid to create the product. Now, your seminar was priced super duper high, like $5,000, but you sell your recordings for $500. So your list is going to make the relative comparison. $500 sounds like a freaking great deal when to pay to get there in person is $5,000, and that's the only difference was your personal attention. The rest is the same. So they got this huge freaking deal. For $500, they're comparing now $500 to $5,000. If you normally sell stuff for $97 and you release a $500 home study course with the same information, even though it is the same information, people are now comparing $97 to $500, and it doesn't look like a good deal at all. So it's the same product pretty much, but just the way you compare it. The red herring example, the $5,000 is your red herring. It's something you don't even really want a lot of people to get. You only just need 1 or 2 to get to make it valid, and then you actually want to sell the $500 product. And in reality, you can then splinter the $500 product up into several front-end products. So Frank Kern did this. He did this with Neil Strauss. So he was working with Neil Strauss to do a product launch for Neil Strauss, and they're acting like this is a big mass control technique. It's not. The technique is the red herring technique. So they said, well, the first thing we need is a product, because we can't sell the same book as Neil Strauss had a best-selling book that you can buy for like $10. So we need to position something that has a lot of value. So they did this exact thing. They went to the community of the people on how to pick up women, because that was what Neil Strauss was in, and they said, we're only selling 5 people on this. It's a $5,000 event or a $10,000 event. You have to be interviewed by us to even get in. So that way only the richest people on their list are even going to be able to get in on this. People where price isn't a concern. And out of 1,000 people, usually 1 out of 1,000, statistically speaking, is about a millionaire. So that for them, price is not a concern. Okay, so you grab a couple people where price is a concern. That's what he did. He got 5 people in, and they taught basically the same thing that they've taught for years, but everybody started talking about this in the community. They're like, oh my God, what's Neil Strauss going to reveal about how to pick up women? If it's 5,000, he's only letting 5 people attend. And then they went back and they did a product launch for the $500 product or whatever that they recorded, and it sold like hotcakes. And in fact, Frank Kern made a jillion dollars in 10 minutes or something like that. I tried to get the sales letter, but the damn bastard takes him down, so I can't show you, but he actually explained the whole thing in the sales letter at masscontrol.com, which is now down, but it's called the Mafia Report. If you can hunt it down and send it to me, I'd be very happy, and I can include it in this. But so that was a Frank Kern example. But he just really got that from Gary Halbert, because Gary Halbert talked about this years ago, like 15 years ago. And I'll show you what Gary Halbert said. It's the same red herring example, though. So in the Gary Halbert letter, it's one called Scared Shitless, very, very tactfully titled. He talks about going into this market here. So it's like, where does he start here? Okay, this is very important. So what you do first is you get, in this case he uses an SRDS mailing list, which you could still get. You could rent a list and do this. So you don't even need your own list. You could actually rent a list. So what you do first is you get the SRDS mailing list and read all those mailing list descriptions. You find yourself a moneyed group of people who are nutso enough about something to spend irrational amounts of money on whatever it is. What's next? You find or create a very expensive product for these people. And he says, listen, since I can already hear you bitching about, but gee, Gary, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to figure it out for you. So he goes, let's do golfers. Let's say he's like, even if you know nothing about golf, you can get a couple personal golf pros, and then you advertise it like this: Florida Pro gives most expensive seminar in the history of golf. So in this case, it's a positioning tactic. Would you be willing to pay $15,000 to improve your golf game? It's like you're bragging about the price, because typically you don't brag about price. In this case, you're bragging because it's supposedly so good, and that's what people are going to think in their mind. And then you talk about the once in a lifetime opportunity, and you send them on a recorded message, which then drives them to copy. And then he says you only have to get one sell for every 12,000 letters mailed, because he's showing you how you can get this to make your price. And you can read all about this at the site. So a neat formula. Actually, it's a great formula, but now I'm going to give you a magic secret that's going to skyrocket the profits of this formula. Look, when you hear Jeff Paul talking about golf clubs he sells, you hear him telling about how golf clubs really are the best in the world. You know what? I bet they are, and that's important. So it's good to have quality, of course. He goes, listen, I know it's hard to believe the taste of a golf seminar could be worth $7,500. So how can I convince you this? I thought about this a lot, and this is what I've came up with. I'm only going to accept payment for these videos, audios, and transcripts of the seminar by check. So he talks about post-dating it. But the fact of the matter is, since these are $15,000 to get in on the seminar itself, you could actually sell a tape for $7,500, and you could even sell it for a lot less. You don't have to go that high end as Gary did. But the point of the matter was you sell the super high, and you even advertise it as being extremely pricey, because you only want a couple people in. And then you turn around and you sell the tapes back to everybody else, and it has that relative comparison of the red herring, that, oh my God. And I call that the luxury launch, because only people that are luxurious can afford that. But everybody else now has the relative comparison in their mind of, I'm getting a $5,000 product for $500. And so they kind of pause logic, buy on emotion, and you make a lot of money. The last example is The Economist magazine. They would run an ad, and I call this the decoy, where you create an offer for your product on your sales copy that you absolutely don't even intend on ever selling. So in this case, they made an offer in an online magazine space ad. He says, for $59, you can get a one-year online subscription. For $125, you can get print. For $125 a year, you can get the print subscription. Or for $125, you can get both the print and the online subscription. So what the hell is the difference? Why would anybody pay $125 for just the print? It sounds ridiculous. But the fact of the matter is, the relative comparison here is a lot more people bumped up from $59 online to $125 for print online, because they thought they were getting such a good deal, considering it's like they're getting the print they're getting online for free, where here they're getting online for $59. That's the comparison here. So the decoy is great. If you want to create a little dummy offer that you don't even expect anybody to buy, but it just makes a relative comparison between three things, this is great to use in your sales letters. The final takeaway on this, the red herring technique, to put it to use for you, is this. Find ways to create insanely high but somewhat believable offers that you don't expect to get, but make your actual price seem insignificant by comparison. If you had to drill it down to one sentence, one concept sentence, like I talk about in my info product creation, that's it. So think about this and try to use this in your copy to make your price relatively insignificant compared to the value that you're offering. Thanks for watching.